Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing an updated Drytron deck profile. This is obviously post Infinite Forbidden. It's going to be a slight variation to the profile I posted kind of recently. So I'll get straight into it. This build is involving the Secret Village of the Spellcasters as an endboard piece, but certainly has a few kind of other variations you can take to end a combo, for example. So ritual monsters, we've got the two Drytron rituals, so the new one and the old one. We are then going into the names. In this build, we're ending on this a lot more. So the previous build I posted, we were ending on Vanity's Ruler, Magic-y, almost all the time, or as often as you could. Whereas this build, you're going to be ending on this almost all the time, just depending on how things play out. Then for the names, we're on 3 Alpha, 3 Zeta. I'm running with 3 of Nutu. This doesn't need to be a 3 of, but this alongside like literally any other name is awesome. So I'm maxing at 3, and I'm also maxing Gamma at 3. This is just something that when you get into like hand traps and things, like hard opening Gamma is really good if you've been hand trapped a bunch. Otherwise, certainly what you could do, so this current list is 40 cards. There's definitely a world where you could easily cut 2 Gamma and 1 Nutu and give you, that would be 3 more non-engine spots. So that's definitely something you could consider. Yeah, definitely consider. I'm just going for a higher name, higher Drytron count in this specific build. It becomes a lot more consistent, of course. And your ability to play through interruptions becomes better when you have like 3 Gamma. Obviously, it can be bricky, but yeah, playing around hand traps playing through hand traps is pretty good as well. And then for the singular names, I'm on 1 Delta, 1 Beta, and 1 of the Ursatron Alpha. So because we're playing, mainly focusing on the DA Draconids, Beta is okay to recycle names, and it's just an additional name itself. So just at 1 though, you obviously don't need any more of it. Then we are, of course, running 3 Nova and 3 Cyber Emergency. Playing 2 of the field spell. You just don't want to clog on Novas. Yeah, and this is really accessible with the Ursatron, so pretty much most end boards you're ending on this. And a lot of the time, if you're able to, you're going to be destroying this and searching Secret Village with Ancient Fairy. But, I mean, this sitting on the board is also not terrible. Its ability to level modulate is pretty cool as well, to just disrupt your opponent. And because we're always ending on a Drytron ritual, this is always live too if you do end on it. And then for the single, just again, like kind of power spells, you've got 1 ritual spell, of course, and Foolish Prayer 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is just to pull out Nutu, just an additional like extender for the deck, and you like all your names are happy to sit in the graveyard per 1 for 1. Then we've got 2 Benten. I'm always between 1 and 3 of this card. I always like having 1 because just at the very minimum, because it just allows you to grab your normal summon when you want it. I'm still playing Vanity's Ruler, but it's not the plan for going first. It's actually kind of in there as a going second plan. I did kind of talk about this in the previous video, but you know, breaking a board with Zeus and then setting up Vanity's Ruler for the follow-up is pretty cool, similar to how Branded can use Gimmick Puppet as a going second tool. You know, break the board and then Puppet Lock. So we're going to go second and Vanity's Ruler. But Diviner is the primary normal summon that we're going for turn 1, whereas the previous build I showed, Vanity's Ruler was the play when I wasn't playing Diviner at all. But just 2 Cyber Angel. Yeah, I'm between 1 and 3 of the card. I'm playing 2 just because I've got 2 targets, and it obviously surges itself. It's fodder for Drytrons, but at the same time, like the fairies are really not as important. Like they're good and extra bodies and tribute fodder and whatnot, but at the same time, you'd rather just have extra Drytron names, I feel, as well. But being able to grab a normal summon in a deck that can't normal summon is good. And then the last kind of card part of the engine is Secret Village of Spellcasters. I've alluded to this already, or said it already, not alluded, but yeah, it's part of the inboard. We're using Diviner as a tuner to access Ancient Fairy. And then we've only got space for 7 non-engine, or really just 6, and it's a call by. So just Droplet, Dark Ruler, and a call by. This has kind of been this has been a staple in Drytron for a long time, is Droplet and Dark Ruler. You could easily play like Book of Eclipse as well as another piece, or Talents. Thrust is a really good card, being able to like especially like, you know, grab, and I definitely side it in this build if I wasn't maining it, but to even grab like Harpy's Featherstorm and end on Fugo is pretty good too when you get hand trapped too. So it's just 7 on engine with 40 cards, but you could definitely make it 9 by making the changes I talked about earlier as well. That's the main deck, 40. Extra deck I think is pretty good. The only thing I'd love to be able to squeeze a third Mu Beta in, but I just haven't worked out where it fits yet. But obviously we've got the Fugo Downed and the Zeus for the Xyz monsters. And then we've got Ancient Fairy as a synchro, as well as the 2 Diviner targets, so Herald and Entis. And then we've just got Link monsters to round it out. So we've got Goddess just to out annoying things. SP, IP, Liner. Liner is the spellcaster that I'm going for, just to have sit on the board with the Secret Village. And then I've got Dynamondo, Nightmare Phoenix, and Anima. So potentially, like, it could be the Phoenix that gets cut. It could be like between like IP can tag into SP, Dynamondo, and Goddess. So it could be like one of these 2 that could be the cuttable card. But yeah, a third Mu Beta is something that I'd love to squeeze into the deck, but it's just not happening at the moment. All right, I'll show you an example combo and then we'll do some testing. Okay, so this is going to be a fairly standard Alpha Zeta combo. You might have seen this before or something very similar, but it's going to be, of course, Alpha tribute Zeta, grab Ben 10, and then Zeta tribute the Ben 10 to grab the Medionis, and then the Ben 10 will grab Diviner. Then going to overlay for Mu Beta, who's going to send Nu-2 to the graveyard. So that's 3 summons. Generally, the way I kind of look at this combo is that if you kind of start with access to 2 names immediately like this, then you'd play around Nibiru this way and kind of combo this way. But then if you're using something like Nova to kind of start the combos, which forces you to have extra bodies, potentially you do go for Vanity's Ruler. I've been valuing playing around Nibiru quite a bit, some decent success. But from here, we're going to normal the Diviner, because that's going to be the 4th summon. It'll send Herald, which would grab the Nu Ritual. From here, we're going to activate Medionis and use Mu Beta and both of its materials to summon out the new Drytron Ritual monster. I feel like I have forgotten something here. Nope, that's right, we sent Nu-2. Okay, so now it's going to be Nu-2 summon itself. And Nu-2 is going, because we've got the Drytron on board, and Nu-2 is going to search for the Ursatron. At any point, we can just Medionis target Nu-2, add it back to hand, and we can special Ursatron because we control a Drytron monster. And it's going to add the field spell. So make sure you do add the field spell, it's very important, even though they both say add a spell, because then we want to use the field spell to grab Nova. From here, we're going to activate the Nova, summoning out Gamma. And now we can take the Gamma and the Diviner, who's level 6 per its effect, synchro summon into Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Fairy Dragon can destroy the Fafnir to add the Secret Village. Contribute the Ursatron to bring back Gamma and another name. And then from here, it's kind of up to you how you do it. If we value keeping the Nu-2 in play, I mean, it's not the hardest to kind of get access to another one, depending on how you do kind of end, but we obviously have to make Liner, so we're always going to take 2 bodies and make Liner the Light Charmer, just because that's our spellcaster. And then with the other 2, it just depends on what we want to end on. So these can, obviously if we want to keep Nu-2 around, these 2 can make a Mu Beta Fafnir. Now, sorry, what we actually should have done is not brought back Zeta. I should have kept that in graveyard, and we should actually bring out Alpha instead. The reason being is that Zeta's already grabbed us a ritual spell, so Zeta from here on actually serves no purpose. Obviously, it's just an extra name. The others still will do something, and this Draconid is going to be banishing names. So it's actually better to keep Zeta in the graveyard. Obviously, if we're just going to link, it doesn't matter. But because I'm choosing to go for the Mu Beta here, just to keep Mewtwo around, it does matter. Because we just try to have the Zeta be immediately banishable. Zeta is just very easily banishable. This is very easily banishable. And then so is the Mu Beta Fafnir. So like these three here are the ones you immediately will happily banish. And then, yeah, we obviously, depending on what you're negating with the big Draconids. But yeah, so they stand there. Now, obviously, so we can go for Mu Beta Fafnir. The other option, of course, is something like IP Masquerena, in which case Mewtwo does get banished. But that's another option to consider, is that we could, of course, go for IP instead. And then it's Alpha and Graveyard. And of course, we're activating Secret Village to pass. So that's another way to do it. If I was playing 3 Mu Beta Fafnir, I think I'd just go for the Mu Beta every time. Or, sorry, the other... Yeah, no, I'd probably still just go for Mu Beta every time. The issue with IP is that you don't really get a way to... Like, if you're going to have to use IP to, like, stop a battle, obviously, like, that's the only way to outline it, is just really, like, going into battle, because you've got... if you had Mu Beta in this, you've got plenty of ways to kind of stop what could out the liner. Well, obviously they can't activate spells anyway, but even, yeah. But if you have IP, you've just got to kind of forego the Draconids. Otherwise, you could go into Dynamondo instead, because it can out special summoned monsters. Oh, just any cards, sorry. So you can actually go Dynamondo, because then you can actually bring the Draconids back out. If you have to do it that way. But you wouldn't be going into SP to banish something. You'd be going IP into Dynamondo with the ritual. And then you can obviously shuffle back like the Ben 10 to out whatever's threatening battle on liner. And then Dynamondo can tag back into Draconids kind of at any point. But yeah, that's kind of how you could potentially end your turn. So with either IP or Mu Beta, depending on if you want to keep Mewtwo around. But yeah, that's kind of the standard combo. Like I said, if we are kind of forced to like play into Nibiru, then there's often times where I will just go for Vanity's Ruler instead, and then try to kind of build some pieces around that. So like Vanity's Ruler, potentially getting access to Mu Beta and like the Drytron Ritual as well is another option. But it all just depends, of course, on the hand. But we'll do a couple of test hands and see how it looks. See if we can try to do some different things. Obviously, if it's just Alpha Zeta, then we can just skip it and keep going. I'm such a fan of these sleeves. They look so lovely. I've never been one for like over sleeves and whatnot, and so I usually play just standard black sleeves, but I've had these for a while, just haven't ever used them. Okay, so for a test hand, we've got Medionis, we've got Fafnir, we've got Mewtwo, Vanity's Ruler, and Delta. Okay, so this is a fine hand. I mean, we could probably just do everything we just did in that previous hand, but we'll have Vanity's Ruler, we'll kind of use it. Because we already got Medionis, having Delta here is great, because Delta's just going to do what Zeta would have done. But yeah, we'll go for the Fafnir first, grab Nova. Go. Well, we could do this. So we could go Delta, Tribute Mewtwo. Reveal Medionis to draw a card. It's just got names galore, of course. Mewtwo will summon out. We can get access to your Alpha. Okay, from here, I mean, we could easily just throw Vanity's Ruler down immediately because we still have everything else to play. Obviously we lose our normal summon, but I mean, this is still just alpha zeta. So we'd be able to play kind of around everything here. So we'll do it. And so there we've got Vantage Ruler, kind of like safe from pretty much anything else that could happen. Well, we don't even need Zeta because we've got the Meteorus, but we could Nova, Gamma, or we could even, I mean, don't even have to grab Gamma because we can always just pitch it off the, like it could be Beta. It doesn't, like we're going to get access to all the names here anyway. But Beta can at least put back Nu-2, which is nice. So we go Alpha, Tribute, Beta. Alpha can grab, we could grab Ben 10 just for future like food, or we could go and grab Big Ritual now. But we've already got access to Big Ritual with Emergency, so we'll grab Ben 10. Obviously, like this hand also didn't like play around draw super well, but also like we could still actually at least establish a board with Vantage Ruler. Now we can go Beta, Tribute Ben 10. Beta can return Nu-2 for the future, and Ben 10 is going to search. We don't need to grab the Diviner, so we can just grab the other Ben 10 now. We can overlay these for a Fafnir. And throw Gamma into the graveyard. We may as well just, we can take the Emergency and just grab the big Drytron Ritual now as well. Just because we have it. Now we can go for Meteorus. Oh, we never pitched it off, but that's okay. Yep, into Draconids. Well, we can target the Draconids, add this back. So we've still got Gamma Engrave that we haven't used, which we can go ahead and do. What we actually probably should have done, just, yeah, it makes sense to do it this way anyway, because we can hold the Ben 10 as pretty good follow-up for the future. So before we Ritual Summon, so we had that on the field, this was in hand. What we could just do is, before we go for the Ritual Summon, is use the Gamma Engrave, tribute off the Draconids to summon out Gamma and a friend, and then go for Meteorus, just so we're getting value out of the card in hand still. And there's Draconids, and now we can just target Gamma, add this back. And from here again, same situation, we can choose what we want to do with these. The Nu-2 is not going to get banished because it wasn't summoned by its own effect. But we could go for the second Fafnir to set up the spell Trap Negate, which is probably the way you would go. You wouldn't go IP here. This would just be go for second Mubeta. And this is where having the third would be really good. So obviously we've got a spell Trap Negate. Now this does not stop Dark Ruler. And that's where, like, we didn't have to go Vantage Ruler. I just did it because we had it in hand and wanted to show something that looked a little bit different. Because the hand could certainly have done what we did in the first, like in the Alpha Zeta example. Yeah, there's just something that looks different. But the Secret Village line is probably just a lot better because it does beat Dark Ruler as well. But it doesn't obviously stop all the special summons. You just rely. Okay, so we'll do a couple of test hands. We'll do a couple just to see, because we want to try and see something that's playable, where we get drolled, and we'll just try our best to kind of combo through that. The new support definitely makes it more feasible because we have a ritual monster that's worth ending on, but we'll just have a quick go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, I mean, that kind of makes it just that little bit easier, but so we're obviously we'll be prioritizing the Nu-2 here. So what we could do is whichever one we start with, it doesn't really matter, because we are going to lose access to searching anyway. But what we can do is, I don't hate going like Gamma, Tribute Nu-2, because we get access to it back again, and then Gamma obviously brings back Nu-2. So Nu-2 triggers, and then so we're going to grab a Drytron monster. Now, if we're trying to kind of play around Droll, then we obviously we'd be trying to grab like the monster here, but the line is that, like, obviously we can already just end on Vanity's Ruler if we do get drolled. So what we might do is actually not grab Draconids, is we could still just grab something like Alpha. but we do get drolled. So we can overlay these for, well actually, we just go for a tribute summon. We don't lose new 2 here. We go for tribute summon straight for Vanity's Ruler. Then we can go for alpha tribute beta. We don't get the effect, but now we can bring back new 2. We still have a beta that can come back, but we're not going to get access to a ritual here. But from here we can go for something like IP Masquerena. We could still take 2, go for Mu Beta Fafnir. We don't really get much value out of Mu Beta Fafnir, to be honest, because we don't have access to a ritual spell. But we've still got a beta engrave, which again is not usable. It's not going to be usable. So the best we could kind of do is just throw down something like a, the missing name being Zeta. And it probably wouldn't be Mu Beta. It's probably not the best line. It's probably just to go for IP. There, so just go with IP Vanity's Ruler, which is not the worst, but I'll show another example just where the Drytrons themselves kind of make the endboard. Opening Vanity's Ruler just kind of tunneled the hand a little bit, but we'll do another one because we should be able to still end on something. I've got Ben 10 Zeta, 1-for-1, Draconids, and Nutu. Okay, so but what we want is obviously access to a ritual spell and access to a ritual monster. And so our search has to be for one of those things. So one way to do that would be to go something like 1-for-1 tribute Zeta. So 1-for-1 send Zeta. Someone add a new 2. And then this new 2 can grab the big ritual. So when you don't play the fairy cards, this is kind of how you play the deck, is you prioritize your alpha search on ritual, Drytron ritual, and that allows you to kind of play the game from there. Now we could go, we've been drolled now, so we go Zeta tribute the big Drytron ritual because we're happy for it in the graveyard. Obviously we're not going to get access to the ritual spell here, but we're going to overlay for Mu Beta Fafnir, and its effect is going to send the Medionis to the graveyard. From here, we need to use Medionis targeting Mu Beta to add it back. The other option, if we want to, because, well, no, we're going to be losing Mu Beta anyway. So we're going to go Medionis add back. It's now exactly 5k, so we can activate this and turn all of that into the Drytron ritual. And then as far as what we have left, is we can't really do a whole lot more from here. Obviously, we've got a new 2 that can summon itself out, but we're probably just best holding this in our hand. We've got no way to access any further names in this situation, but at least we're ending on something. Now, it obviously does represent 2 monster negates as well, by probably just losing everything in our graveyard here, but that's 6k worth of attack that we can kind of banish and negate. But then if this does get outed, unfortunately opening a Draconids is rough, but it can summon itself out. We do get one more send by losing the big Drytron ritual. So we do have a few disruptions, and we do have we lose our follow-up by banishing it. So it's something to consider. If we could potentially hold the Zeta in graveyard, would not be bad, because it means that we can definitely play the game on the next turn. But yeah, Droll's always going to be rough, but at least now it's not just completely heartbreaking. You can generally put up the 5k guy, and you get the negates, you get the tag out into ritual, and then depending on if you open Gamma, and that's why we're playing multiple copies of it, is you could throw an IP onto the endboard as well, or a Mu Beta. So we've got New 2, Delta, Alpha, Medionis, and Secret Village. Okay, so this hand is crazy. If we get drolled, again, we don't mind, because between what we have, we've already got Ritual Spell, so that's already fantastic. So we can actually use the Mu Beta send something, so we can kind of really, I'm just trying to think, I don't think we're not going to be able to get access to the, well, we don't need an Ancient Fairy, we can just make Liner itself. So we can use Gamma we can use the Mu Beta to send Gamma here, which is really nice. So we can go Alpha Tribute New 2, it'll summon and grab the Ritual monster. we get drolled, Nutu can summon out, overlay for Mu Beta. Mu Beta is going to send Gamma. Then we can go Ritual Spell, because that's 1, 2, 3, that's 3 summons. Yeah, we've got Delta in hand anyway, so we can go Medionis. I'm just trying to think if we could get use out of this first. Turn it into Draconids. We can target the Draconids to add this back. Now we can go Gamma in Graveyard, tributing the Delta. And it's going to bring back a friend. And then these two could just become Liner. Activate Secret Village. And just keep the Medionis in hand. So follow-up wise, we, like by playing around Nibiru additionally, we did have to use the whole hand. But if we chose to disrespect Nibiru, we could have gone the Gamma first to use this out of hand, but it doesn't matter. That's okay. So we still, obviously, that's pretty much the board, and that was withdrawal. That was obviously opening Secret Village helps, but even if if we didn't have Secret Village, we just take our 2 guys and turn them into the second Mu Beta, and that's still fine. I mean, like, obviously it's still a very beatable board, but we, you know, have 2 monster negates. We've got a spell negate that's already trading with 3 cards in the opponent's hand, depending on, you know, what they've got, what they're playing, etc. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. I really like the deck. I don't know if this is, you know, the best way to play it, but it's definitely a way to play it. Maybe for the next one, when I do another one, we'll go completely fairyless and kind of show what that looks like, where we're just prioritizing going for rituals. You know, if we take out like that's 4 spots we can already kind of take out. We've got, you know, Secret Village comes out. We get a little bit more extra deck space. We can already take out the 2 Gambas. Like, do you play Ursatron? Maybe, maybe not. It's not as necessary. So like already there's a stack of cards you could take out to kind of adapt it. And it just means like non-engine wise, you could certainly fit a whole lot more in as well. So like that's 6 cards that come out already. Then as I said, you could take out 2 Gamma and a Nutu immediately as well, which is 9. So like there's 9 cards that you could easily change. We've already got 7 on engine, you know, 9 and 7, 16. Like like there's a world where you could play hand trap Drytron, 16 hand traps. Whether that's good or not, hard to say, but I mean, you could easily just play like heaps of board breakers. Yeah, it's something that definitely I will try and get back to you on how successful that is. But otherwise, that's going to be it for this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.